Bob Sheridan here. You see Mike Tyson in the black trunks, traditional, and Buster Douglas. For Buster, it's which Buster Douglas has come to fight tonight. We've seen him fight outstandingly in many of his fights. We're just underway here. 10-point must-scoring system. 3 judges will score the fight. Larry Rosadio of the United States, Ken Morita of the U.S., and Mr. Uchiha from Japan here. Mike will try to get in and land that big right hand anytime he can. Buster, who's got a pretty good left hand, and you see that jab, he's trying to hold Mike off. If he's able to hold Mike off, this thing could go a few rounds. If he can't hold Mike off, Mike will dispose of him early. That right hand got through. That's a surprise. And one thing noticeable right away here is that Buster is not backing up, and when he gets in tight, he's not just hanging on to Mike. He's here to fight. Johnny Johnson, his trainer, and J.D. McCauley actually believe that Buster Douglas can win this fight, but golly, how many trainers have we listened to over the years that, you know, I think sometimes you get too close to a fighter and you believe things that you're hoping for. But honestly speaking, Buster looks pretty good in the early going here of the first round of a scheduled 12-round World Heavyweight Championship fight. And now the warning comes about the heads coming together. You saw Mike's head come right in the cheek there of Buster Douglas. You see the way Mike dips down. And by the way, this is one of the taller fighters as we reach the halfway point, and it's the first round. And you see right away, Buster not so intimidated by Mike. A couple of unusual things here. You know, against the guys he won the title from, like Trevor Berbick and Bone Crusher Smith, with the exception of Tony Tucker, who Mike won the IBF title from, everybody else has been really intimidated by Mike. And Buster is not showing a lot of that, you know, real intimidation we've seen by other fighters fighting Mike.
Hey.
Big thing is whether he can sustain this. Of course, Mike hasn't tagged him yet with a big blow. Look at them as they exchange here in round 1. Oh, that right hand actually caught Mike. Mike may have taken it on the glove there, but Buster is here to fight. This is a surprise, I think, right away. You see, again, the key, and keep watching for this, whether Buster can hold him off with the left hand, and what nobody else has been able to do, can he actually ever back Mike off? As that big lunging left hook, Buster able to get, notice the right hand up to protect the right ear. I think the height and reach advantage certainly looking like an advantage for Buster Douglas here in the early going. Buster in at 231 and a half, 11 and a half pounds heavier than is Mike Tyson. Coming up to the closing seconds of this, the first one. Wow! With the right hand is Buster Douglas, and Mike comes right back and answers it with a wild left hand of his own. The Tokyo Dome, of course, Mike Tyson in his traditional black trunks, James Buster Douglas in white, already has gone further than some of the opponents of Mike Tyson, namely the last opponent, Carl the Truth Williams, last July, was felled in the first round.
Hey, don't do that. Break.
And there was a lot of people that didn't expect Buster, quite honestly, to get through the first round, and that's why Don King has brought this show on the road. Look at Buster landing some shots here. And he hasn't backed Mike up. Mike standing straight in front of him. Look at this, Buster landing some shots. This is surprising here. Getting the jab through, stopping Mike. Mike comes through, leans to the right, and then throws that left hook. You still just get the idea that when is Mike going to explode? You've seen it so many times before. And I still have to say to this point, Buster hanging in there pretty good. Now he ties him up, and referee Moran has to separate the two. Mike comes through and misses the jab. You know, a lot of psychology involved with this fight. Before the fight, you heard about Buster Douglas' mom passed away a short time ago, and he's dedicated this fight to his mother, and he had a bit of a cold this week, but that didn't seem to bother him. This is the biggest night of his life. Midway through the second round, a place that many of us thought we might not see. Hey, there's a grazing right hand gets through. The left hand again by Douglas. Surprisingly, here in the second round, this is Douglas's round in the second. The first round probably would be scored more even by the judges because they wouldn't pick up immediately what Buster Douglas was doing. And we, of course, have the advantage of the fellas in the truck that have the punch stat information actually telling us that Mike Tyson only landed a few punches in the first round, but definitely Buster is winning the second round, which is very surprising. Of course, Mike at any time lands that big shot. And that's the exciting thing about the heavyweight division, because one punch can end it all, but certainly change the tide of the fight immediately. Right now, it's a better fight than we ever dreamed of here in Tokyo. But you still, as I said before, get the feeling, well, as Larry Rezadio says, hey, watch that head, Mike, when you come in. Said Larry Rezadio. He's the judge. We're actually talking about Octavio Miran. Oh, an uppercut got through that time by Buster. Look at this, Buster landing some shots here. Well, one thing for sure, he's come to fight.
Okay. Great.
This is as good as we've ever seen Buster Douglas, even in the fight against Tony Tucker, which was a real tough fight. Buster looked very good in the early going of that IBF championship fight, and then as the bell ends in round number 2, let's see how it goes here. Round 3, Mike looks like he's got the adrenaline flow going a bit better here. Mike, of course, has had some personal problems, and you wonder, everything has come kind of easy for him. Is he bored? You know, he had all the highly publicized problems with his marriage with Robin Givens, and of course the death of Customato. Good left hook to the body that time. And
No, don't do that, Mike. Don't do that, Mike. Break. Okay. All right.
they tell me again, interesting information, that Buster Douglas has landed over 50 punches and Tyson's landed only 16. Now the problem is the judges don't see those statistics that we're telling you. So I would say that the judges probably scored the first round even and the second round in favor of Buster Douglas. See Mike much more aggressive, but again, Buster's not being backed off by Mike Tyson, which is something we just haven't seen in other fights.
No.
Referee Miran tries to separate the two big fellas.
Okay.
And the action continues. It's clear that Buster Douglas is not intimidated by Mike Tyson. Mike not using a lot of movement. You notice we haven't seen him do the dip. He's kept that head kind of in the face of Buster Douglas. But we're only in round 3, don't forget. And Buster has that history of kind of wearing down as fights progress. Bob Sheridan here. We're in Tokyo, Japan. And a beautiful arena here where the Yomiuri Giants play baseball most of the time, and the Japanese crowd of some 35,000 on hand here enjoying what they certainly didn't expect. And that's it. We're in the early moments here of the 4th round in Tokyo. Buster has been successful getting his left jab through and holding Mike off. He really hasn't backed Mike off yet, and that will be an indication if maybe Buster's for real. And Mike, you saw, land that big left hook, and then he goes headhunting with the right hand. And that's what Aaron Snowell told him in between the 3rd and 4th round. But again, their philosophy may be to try to wear this big guy down. But at this stage, into the 4th round, Buster not showing any signs of slowing down. It looks a bit lethargic here in the 4th. He's not up on his toes, not shooting out that left as much. Well, there he goes. As I said, he throws the left and the right behind it. Notice another thing about Buster, some pretty good hand speed. And for some reason, Mike doesn't seem to be into it, but he's a guy that, as we've seen so many times in other fights that have gone any distance at all, like against Jose Ribalta that went 10 rounds, and I suppose you could talk about that 7th round fight with Tyrell Biggs, that Mike, when he decides to pick up the pace, can do it. That's the midway portion of the 4th round. And Octavio Miran separates them for about the 20th time so far here. Of course, the people on hand here are thrilled that Buster is still around here in the 4th round. And the big question is going to be, can he back Mike off? Can he keep that left going? Well, gee, there's a right hand that gets through. I'm talking about the big questions, and all of a sudden the big fella executes it. See him bounce the head back again of Mike Tyson? And he's been very successful with the ability to tie Mike's hands up. For some reason, Mike just doesn't look as aggressive and menacing as I've seen him in so many other fights. But all that can change with one big shot. And don't ever forget that. Wow. That's the great thing about the heavyweights. It's always sudden death.
Break. All right.
There's the ability of Buster Douglas again. You have to say, in all the fights and all the world telecasts we've done that have involved Buster Douglas, this is the best I've ever seen him look. And of course, styles make fights, and you see, oh, there's Mike missing that big left and just grazed the chin of Buster Douglas. And Douglas answering with loaded up shots of his own at the bell end. Round 4.